This is the intelligence of a person who comes to see that nothing belongs to me anyway, it's only passing through my hands. So it's a great art, how to give away what one has as soon as possible before it's taken away to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Didichi knew this when the demigods came and asked him for a little charity. What did they want? Just your bones. Didichi, after a slight philosophical discussion, because he'd like to hear about how he's not his body from the demigods, very happily gave away his body in charity, because he said, it's going to be taken away from me anyway, so it's wonderful that I now have an opportunity to give it away. So in the Gita, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. And Prabhupada writes in a purport, the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 9th chapter, the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, the verse beginning with Naivatmana Prabhurayam Nijalabha Purno, that some people say that this is too much to ask. That Krishna's asking, surrender to me, give everything to me. Some people say it's too much. That's too much to ask. But Prabhupada goes on to say, he writes, that it's for the welfare of the person who surrenders. It's for the welfare of the whole world to give to Krishna what one has. And back to the verse that I just extracted that segment from, I mentioned, Naivatmana Prabhurayam Nijalabha Purnam. This is Prahlad Maharaj. Manam janada virusad karuna vranite yad yajjano bhagavati grihit avidhita kaman tachchatmane pratimukasya yata mukashri. He says, when you decorate your face and you're looking in the mirror, then the reflection in the mirror is also decorated. So in a similar way, he says, when you give something to Krishna, then you become satisfied. And you become glorified. It's counterintuitive to the material mindset that thinks, I have to hold on to everything, and then I'll be happy. So this is Krishna's prescription that Prabhupada mentions in the purport, Bhoktaram Yagatapasam. Krishna is the enjoyer of everything, and if you think about it, that's important because we need someone to give to who can actually digest it. Krishna can digest anything, like in Jagannath Puri, 54 times a day, is it? They feed him, and he keeps eating, he can take it. When Krishna appeared as Govardhan Hill, and the residents of Vrindavan came, he kept eating more and more and more and more. In this world, if you give something to somebody, it's very difficult for them to appreciate it. People don't always appreciate what they get. In fact, although it's noble to give, it's hard to find people to give to who are actually worthy or who can actually take it. In fact, there's a long history in the world of people trying to give away religious philosophy, and then people won't take it. In fact, there's whole periods of history where people went out and they said, you take it or die, because it's not so easy to give something to someone. But Krishna will take the littlest thing that we offer to him. Neha bikramana shosti pratyavayo navidyate. And also, of course, this verse means that even if you give a little something, or if you make a little progress in devotional service, swalpamapyasya dharmasya, you do the right thing, even a little bit, then you'll never lose that. And then similarly he says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati taraham bhakti paritam ashnami paritatmanaha. This is a very unusual statement from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says, if you just offer me a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it. It means these items are easily attainable anywhere. You can get a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water practically anywhere on the planet. And if you just offer that to Krishna, he'll accept it. Because he's the supreme enjoyer. He can actually take things and enjoy them if you offer them to him. So, Bhoktaram Jagatapasam is a great opportunity to turn one's attention towards giving to Krishna. And if you think about it, there's a lot of opportunity to do that, to give to Krishna whatever one has. And then it's no longer a burden. because whatever I try to keep as a small little human being becomes a great burden to me. Maintaining oneself in this world is not so easy. And I heard a story about Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who was given one day a donation of a rupee. And he was going along with his servant, and then he said, "Turn around, take me back to that man who gave the rupee." And he took him back, and he gave the rupee back. He said, "I can't carry this, too heavy. Too much of a burden. You take it back." Demonstrating how burdensome taking on anything in the material world is. But if one lives to give to Krishna and offers whatever one has, then one can live in a palace, or one can keep unlimited wealth, opulence in one's life, if one's offering it to Krishna. And this is the life of devotees. When I first joined the Krishna Consciousness movement, a lot of my friends came to see me at the temple when I first joined. They said, "What are you doing? Are you sure you want to do this? This austere life, sleeping on the floor and giving up everything?" And I lived in that brahmacharya ashram for 13 years, and I traveled the world multiple times and lived in these big palaces and ate the best of food, prasadam offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sat with the most exalted people on the planet, and I never once felt I was lacking anything at all. Whereas they went on to struggle very hard in the material world, and thought, "How are you doing all this with no money and with no apparent education? Living like a king, practically." So Prabhupada often said that those who serve the king, they also live at the same standard. In fact, it's even better, he said, because the king has to worry about the kingdom, whereas the servant just has to worry about serving the king and doing the best that he can. So Bhaktaram Jagatapasam is a wonderful opening for us to give to Krishna, give our life's energy to Krishna, give our speech to Krishna. If we have wealth, we can give it to Krishna. He can take it. I was at Radhakund about 10 years ago, and I'd just arrived in Vrindavan, and I had gone down to take Shnan. So I took everything off and I put on Gamsha, and I went into the Radhakund. And then when I turned around, after saying Gayatri, all my stuff was gone. And they had just a pocket full of money and a pen and paper and a few things, plus all my clothes. So I walked home in my Gamsha. That was from Radhakund all the way back to Govardhan at the Bhaktivedanta ashram, probably about 7 miles or so. And I walked along like, I'm a sadhu, I just wear a Gamsha here. But when I stay in that ashram, at the end, I used to always, at the end, I'd give a donation to the ashram. But when I got back this time, I went immediately to my locker and I gave the donation ahead of time, because I was thinking, in any minute, it will be taken away. So better to give it away before it's taken away. In fact, it reminds me of a joke I heard of 2 guys walking in New York City. Could have been anywhere, but New York. They're walking, and a robber jumps out with a gun. And he says, "Okay, put your hands up, and then really slowly reach down and give me all your money." So these 2 guys walking, they're friends. And one guy says to the robber, "Okay, just hold on 1 second." And he pulls out his money, and he hands it to his friend. And he says, "Dilip, here's that 20 rupees that I owe you." Because at any minute, things will be taken away from us. And we don't know when or how, but they will be, because they're not ours anyway. So an intelligent person learns this and just preemptively, at first, tries to give everything to Krishna. So nothing is mine. It's all yours, Krishna. Just please take it for your enjoyment. And in this way, such a person enjoys life without a care in the world. Brahma bhuta prasanatma, nashochati nakangshati. No lamentation and no hankering. And a person feels happy in mind and spirit by just letting Krishna enjoy everything. And then naturally, that person enjoys. So Sarvaloka Maheshwara means that Krishna is the controller of everything. He's in charge of everything in the universe. And everything comes from Krishna. Everything is in complete balance. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Puri and Ramachandra Puri came, and this was a godbrother to his spiritual master, and he began watching Mahaprabhu's habits and criticizing him for eating too much. He'd bring devotees prasadam, big plates of prasadam and sweets, and say, here, please take prasadam. And then they take, and afterwards he'd say, I've always heard that the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eat too much, and now I see it's true. And so he began criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and saying that he can't control his senses. I see ants walking around. He must have been eating sweets here. And the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very disturbed. And Mahaprabhu just simply reduced his eating. And in this section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's mentioned from the Smriti Shastra that one should neither blame or criticize anyone. No one should blame or praise anyone. But then it goes on to say, of these two restrictions, it's okay to praise, but one should not criticize. And then Kaviraj Goswami quotes from the Bhagavat saying that because the devotee sees that the world is working in a uniform way, he knows that there's no reason to be envious of others or criticize others. He sees that Krishna is controlling everything that happens in his life. So the devotee understands that whatever comes, tate anukampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam, that's the mercy of the Lord. It's coming to me as a special mercy for my own purification. And if one can learn to take things like this, that it's all under Krishna's control, see that Krishna is behind this, then one becomes the inheritor of the kingdom of God. And this verse, Bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Vipakam, what does that sound like? From the 5th canto? Kumbhipaka. Vipakam. It means, Kumbhipaka means a place where you get cooked alive. And so one of our ISKCON pundits, Sri Mukunda Datto Prabhu, was telling me that this word vipaka means in this verse that we're cooking in our own juices. We put ourselves in the pot, we lit the fire, and now we're cooking in it. That's what that section of the verse means. That we've done it to ourselves. So the devotee understands that whatever is going on in the world is working perfectly by the arrangement of the Lord. Whatever reactions I'm getting right now are meant very specifically, especially for devotees, for my purification, just so that I can come to the point of pure Krishna consciousness. So if one can see that Krishna is the supreme Ishvara, then there's no more anxiety. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena punjita magridha kasasudanam. Everything animate or inanimate within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. This verse solves all the problems that one might have by just admitting that Krishna owns everything. It's all his. And that whatever I get, naturally, yadrishcha labasantushto. Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita that be satisfied with gain that comes of its own accord. And understand that's tena tyaktena. That's been set aside for me as my quota. Then you'll have no anxiety. So, Suridam Sarvabhutana means that Krishna is the supreme friend of everybody. He's He's there within the heart, and he knows exactly what we want. And for devotees, continuing in the verse Tate Anukampam Susamikshamano, the acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur say that even after a devotee surrenders to Krishna, sometimes there are reactions that come. And one might think that this is karma, but he said it's not karma. It's actually Krishna's special mercy. And that special mercy is that he knows exactly what the residual desires are within the heart of the devotee. Even after the devotees surrender, there may be some very specific ways in which he or she wants to enjoy the material world. It's just a residual, just like if you burn a chapati in your house. Did you ever burn a chapati? It's easier to burn toast, but anyway, if you burn a chapati or a papadum, you're cooking a papadum and it burns, and someone will walk in an hour later and go, "Who burned a papadum? I can smell the smoke in here," even and 2 hours later. So similarly, even after one surrenders, there's this residual effect, material desires. So Krishna knows exactly how to purify the devotee of those last residual desires to give him opportunity to completely surrender with no more connection to the material world. It's pretty sticky, the material world, like mango sap. If you get mango sap in your shika, you may have to cut off your shika because it won't come out. It's very sticky. So the desires and the connection to the material world is like that. But Krishna's Suridam Sarvabhutanam, he's a supreme friend, and he knows just how to help us. So in this purport, Prabhupada's mentioning that this is the process through which one attains peace. So we have also the opportunity to give people who are suffering in the material world the means by which they can also be in line with these instructions. Bhoktaram jagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam. So one of the ways in which the devotees do that very joyously is they go out for Sankirtan. So if one goes out on book distribution, for example, anywhere in the world, one will find some astonishing, one will meet people that one never thought existed in the world. And there will be circumstances that are beyond imagination by Krishna's arrangement. And by meeting these people and giving them some Krishna conscious literature, they have the opportunity to understand these basic principles. Bhoktaram jagatapasam, that Krishna is the enjoyer. Because they think that they're the enjoyer, and because of that, they're suffering. And all they have to do is to read something that's commonsensical, some instruction about how to make their lives completely whole and connected with Krishna. And that's what we distribute. So we go out and we meet people and we tell them that if you read this book, then you'll become happy. Actually, I've never really said anything like that. But I've said things like, this book will wake up love for God in your heart. I used to say that a lot. In the Midwest of America, people are very religious. So stopping people, I'd say, you believe in God, right? And they say, yeah. I say, these are books that are meant to wake up pure love for God within the heart. And give it, if we just ask for a donation and we use it to spread pure love for God all over the world. My godbrothers used to say that this was the God line to tell everybody about God. But surprisingly, when you tell people directly about Krishna, about God, you just come out and say it and present this information, and people are actually relieved. They feel some relief because all over the world, people are subjected to information that puts them in more and more anxiety. It comes from every direction now. It comes on the internet, and it comes on the television. Just when I got off the airplane here in Mumbai last night, I was walking down from the airplane to immigration, and I saw no less than 20 advertisements for whiskey. I was thinking, what's the big deal with whiskey? The first rule in life is never drink anything that you can light on fire. And they're selling it as if it's nectar. And then as soon as you go through immigration, you come through and there's a duty-free shop, and they have all the whiskey they were advertising right there. And I saw people actually buying it. They were buying, you know, a bottle of whiskey and taking it home or giving it as a gift. Here, this is friendly gesture. Take some whiskey and die behind the wheel. So this is ill-advised. It's not a very good idea. And there are a lot of bad ideas out there that people have. There's no extent to the bad ideas that people can come to on their own just by speculating and trying different combinations and permutations of the material modes of nature. They try to mix things up, and those try it like this, try it like that, and it's all speculation. It's all a bad idea. But Bhagavad Gita is from cover to cover just good ideas. And the other books we distribute, like Srimad Bhagavatam, it's the fruit of all the Vedic literatures. The sound vibration within that, within those covers of those books, actually says it liberates one from the entanglement of the material world. As we quoted the verses, Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna. Someone just reads it a little bit. They become purified within their heart. They become happy. So Prabhupada said this book distribution is a way to inject Krishna consciousness into the world. And it's reasonable because human beings like knowledge. They're always trying to consume some knowledge. So if you introduce Krishna conscious knowledge to people, and they can read a little bit of knowledge, even just a paragraph or a sentence that is coming from Krishna and Krishna's representative, then they can catch the real meaning of life and start to turn their attention towards their real dharma, which is to serve Krishna and to give everything they can to Krishna. And everybody is meant to do this. When we were in Jagannath Puri last year, or actually it was this year, because we have our yatra every year in Jagannath Puri in January. No, end of January, February, beginning of February. So we were in Jagannath Puri, and this year we decided that we were going to call it a Sankirtan Yatra. Not just going around to seeing the holy places, which is nothing just about that, it's very nice. But this time we're going to go, as we're going, we'll do it as book distribution, Harinam, and Prasadam distribution. So in Jagannath Puri, in 1 week, we collected 1 crore of rupees. That's impossible? What did we collect? 1 lakh? How much is a lakh? 100,000 rupees. Yes, okay. 1 lakh of rupees. That's 100,000 rupees? Okay, we collected 1 lakh. Next time, a crore. 1 lakh of rupees just walking around Jagannath Puri. And we gave out, distributed 5,000 books, 5,000 lollipop prasadam, and 5,000 Jagannath stickers for so, no, it's, all right. So we were walking around Puri with Chinese devotees and Japanese devotees. So the devotees came from China and Japan, and some from other places around the world. And so they didn't speak Oriyan or Hindi or Bengali, but they spoke Chinese. And they looked Chinese, and they looked Japanese. So we made these little cards that had the language on it that said in Oriyan, you know, please give a donation. And so we just walked around in Jagannath Puri on our way to go to see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's place, and then we go to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's. But all along the way, we'd be doing Harinam and distributing books. So everybody in the path, you could see they had a lollipop, a book, a Jagannath sticker. And so these Chinese devotees were approaching the Oriens, and they were astonished. They say, this is our culture, and here's people from China who don't speak our language, and they're giving us books in our language. And then the first couple days were a little bit slow until we found out the formula. There's always a formula for book distribution that makes it work. And so I discovered it one day. Should I tell you what it is? So anyone I met would take a book, and then anyone that any of the devotees would meet would take a book. But we've run out of time, so I can't tell you. In Oriya, if you take off your shoes before you hand over the book. So as soon as I walk up to somebody, I just kick off my shoes. Nagar Kirtan was there. He was a witness, right, Nagar? So you kick off your shoes, then they kick their shoes off. And then you hand over the book. We were at the train station getting ready to all take a train up into Mayapur. So you were with me that night, right? We were walking around the parking lot, and there was a couple who, I guess they had an old rickshaw. They were relaxing for the day, and I came close to the rickshaw. I kicked off my shoes. They kicked off their shoes. Then the man took a jug of water. He started washing his hands, and then he held out his hand for the book. So pious. And he put water on his head. Then he took the book. So we went everywhere, and one day when we were in front of Jagannath temple, we were having big Harinam, and we had a table of books, and we put our deity of Mahaprabhu there. The devotees were dancing, and we were distributing books. And as I was distributing books, this lady who was a professional beggar kept coming over and getting in the middle of me and the person I was talking to. You know how that happens sometimes, right? And so then she started pulling on my sleeve, like, give me a donation. So I took a book and I said, here. I put it in her begging bowl. And then I said, now you give a donation. And she said, no, like she was pointing to, like, I'm poor, I'm a beggar and stuff. I said, no, give a donation. And so then a crowd started coming around because they wondered who's going to win. This big, huge Hare Krishna from America or this poor little beggar lady from Jagannath Puri. But I had no difficulty in asking her for a donation because we can beg from beggars because we're asking for Krishna. So she said no, and I said, no, you give. And she said, no. I said, give. And then finally a big smile broke out on her face, and she reached in, she grabbed coins, and she gave, and the crowd went, yay! So because it's a transcendental activity, if you go anywhere on behalf of Krishna, you have no interest whatsoever that you're going for yourself, but you're going there because you understand that this is what this verse is teaching today is the only way. Kurvan eviha karmani jajivishek shatam samaha evam tvai nanyate tosti nakarma lipite nare. This verse says there's no alternative to this way for man. You have to give your things to Krishna. So we go out and say, when I give seminars on book distribution, nowadays, wherever I go, I always start by talking about how to ask for a donation. Because that's the only part that people find difficult. They think, oh, I love to go out, but I just don't want to ask for a donation. But that's the best part. So I start with that first, and I tell devotees that this is how I ask for a donation. I hand them the book. I say, we don't sell it. Go ahead. See, he's afraid I'm going to ask for a donation. We don't sell it like in a bookstore. We only ask for a donation. We don't need the money. The only reason we ask, it's an ancient tradition that when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the previous teachers who have passed it down over many generations, and it allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge. It's not for me, it's for you. And when they hear that, it makes so much sense because it's true. And no, donation. and they feel so satisfied by giving when they know it's a penance. They're not buying something. They're not, you're doing them a favor by asking them. So in the Gita, Krishna says, don't give this knowledge to people who are not devoted or austere. So what do? We go out in the world, how do you know? You know because you ask them for a donation. That's a very austere thing to do. And you know this because when you say it, you'll see the look on their face. You should give 10 rupees, and they're like, oh. I was going to put that in my mattress and save it. It's like, you'll know it's not save it. It'll be taken away from you one way or another. But we'll take it for Krishna. On your behalf, we'll give it to Krishna. And this is the way, if one realizes that this is the only way that people be engaged in some kind of service, and that this is such a compact service. Everything's there. You meet people face to face. You give them transcendental literature, which living entities can handle because they have the chit shakti. They can look at things and they can understand it. They're very intelligent, actually. And they can give something in return. And that starts their spiritual life. So you can see it with each individual person you meet, that this is the way in which people can start their spiritual life and then make advancement towards this ideal of understanding that Krishna is their best friend, he's the enjoyer of everything, and he controls and owns everything. And then they can attain peace. And now we have a few minutes to take some reflections or questions. Reflection means anything that you heard that you want to give back to us. And we got an extra microphone, I'll bet, around here somewhere. It's just now coming. Mike?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your wonderful class. My question is regarding the donation asking skill.
Your question's about the donation?
Asking.
Ask donation asking.
Yeah, the way you told that we should not ask them directly some money, but we should just ask some donation in regards to this piety and all those things.
Don't ask them directly for donation, but ask them...
Like that, how it is glorious to donate for the books.
What did he say? How is it glorious to donate for the book?
Yeah. My question is, in India it doesn't work.
It doesn't work, yeah. That's true. That's very true. And therefore, I don't hand Indians books right away. In America, when we go around, we have lots of Indians in America. So I teach everyone how to distribute books for Americans and Europeans, everybody else. You can hand them a book, tell them about it, then ask for donation. For Indians, if you hand them the book first, then you're in for trouble, because they already know everything that's in the book and everything else, for that matter. I know everything.
So in India, how to ask for donation?
So for Indians, they need to be part of a cause. So as an example, when I go door to door and I meet somebody from India when I'm in America, I don't hand them anything. I just make friends and I tell them what we're doing, what the mission is, and then I ask for money, because they're very happy to give money. And after that, we give them books. So we've been selling sets of Bhagavatams door to door in America. And recently, because we're in our city, we're running out of places to go because so many people have bought Bhagavatam sets. So we started a new program. It's called Go Matsya. So Matsya, avatar, save the Vedas. Correct? Also in ISKCON, many years ago, we used to have a program called Matsya, the Matsya Project, through which devotees were saving parts of the Vedas from being lost, because scriptures are lost over time. So what we do when we go to meet Indians is we tell them about our mission called Go Matsya. And the mission is, this is our motto. Our motto is preservation through mass distribution and education. And we tell them that they have a part in preserving the Vedas for the world by keeping the full set of Srimad Bhagavatams in their home. And just by keeping it there, they're helping to preserve the culture. And also, we have different levels they can join at. They can become an advocate, which means they just keep the book in their house, the set. Or they can become a distributor, which means they give us referrals to other people that can take Bhagavatam sets. They'll point out, take this person, that person. Or they can become what is called an organizer, which means they start their own distribution program.